Hi, welcome to Hollywood Crime Scene. This is Rachel Fisher.
Hi, this is Desi Jedeikin.
Hey, Desi, how are you?
I'm a wonderful person. Sorry.
You are a wonderful person. So today we are going to be talking about the two Coreys.
Feldman and Haim.
Feldman and Haim.
Hey, wait, is he related to the Haim sisters? I'm sorry.
No, he's not, actually. So if you don't know, Corey Feldman and
Whatever.
Corey Haim were two of the biggest stars in the mid-'80s. They were teen heartthrobs. They were on the cover of every Tiger Beat and Bop magazine. And they also had some problems with the law and some problems that are pretty devastating, that are very topical for what's been going around in Hollywood today. We will get into that. I also want to mention that yesterday I spent the entire day reading the entirety of Corey Feldman's memoir called Choreography.
I'm on the fence about if this is so horrible it's good or just horrible. Because, I'll just say that we just watched a video of his, and I don't feel like his name should be attached to choreography at all. Like, how hard are you selling something that you would name? Like, no one knows him for choreography.
No, that's why I feel like...
So the pun is like, yeah, if you were like Wade Robson or something, maybe it would work.
It would be like if I named my memoir Rachel Tensions when I'm a white person. It's like just because it kind of goes together.
That took me a second.
Well, I'm like, just because it kind of like, it's like kind of a play on words doesn't mean it has anything to do with my story.
But I can name my memoir Desi Astor. No.
Desi Astor.
Look, I'm not a pun person.
I like Desi. You should ask some people on Twitter. They're very good at puns.
Yeah, they love puns.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, choreography is so horrible.
It's horrible.
But I like that he was like, oh my God, I know exactly what I'm going to call it. Because I'm a great dancer.
Right. But I will say that I absolutely loved his memoir, personally.
Right.
I loved his memoir.
You got past the title.
I got past the title. I thought he did a really good job. He spared no details. I actually have been a fan of Corey Feldman's since I was a wee child. And I'm still, I'm rooting for him. He's someone that I'm rooting for even today, even as ridiculous as he is.
I'm kind of rooting for him to stop. Just because it's too sad for me. Just go live a normal life. It's done.
Yeah.
He's not having a comeback. I'm sorry to be the harsh.
You know what? I might write his comeback movie. Who knows?
Maybe he could, like kind of like Sylvester Stallone.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe or Mickey Rourke.
Like in 20 years.
I hope he does.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
But maybe he needs to go away and stop being sad.
He should go away for a while
and stop doing choreography and singing.
I want to see him win an Oscar before I die. I believe in Corey Feldman as an actor. I do believe in Corey Feldman.
He's a good actor, but I wonder if he is still.
I don't know.
Because he's sort of delusional.
Well, we're going to go through his life. He did not have an easy life. We're also going to talk about Corey Haim, of course, which was his partner in crime and best friend. Let's just start from the beginning. Corey Feldman was born July 6th, 1971 in Los Angeles. He grew up in Chatsworth, which is in the Valley, with his his older sister, Mindy, who was a Mouseketeer in the 1970s reboot of the Mickey Mouse Club. He started working as an actor at the age of 3 when he appeared in a McDonald's commercial. And this was a really successful McDonald's commercial. It was a holiday-themed one, and it ended up playing every single year for like the next 8 years. So he was already he was doing good in his first job.
Some income.
Yeah.
For a kid.
It was really good. And he ended up doing over 100 commercials in the 70s when he was a little child.
Wow.
And he became a TV actor as well. His mom was absolutely a stage mom. She was a former cocktail waitress at the Playboy Bunny Club back in the 60s. She had really bad depression. She would sleep a lot all day. She would hold herself up in her room. She was also an alcoholic. And she was pretty abusive to Corey. And one of the things that she did a lot was fat shame him. Ugh. Even though Corey Feldman, he's not fat. It's not right to fat shame your kid even if they are fat. It's never right to fat shame someone. But the fact that Corey wasn't even overweight or chubby is what are you doing to your kid? and no kid should be, unless they're like sick
Yeah.
and like obese, like obese and sick.
But even like you said, you wouldn't do it even under those
You wouldn't fat
circumstances.
shame them.
Yeah.
You'd put them on a healthier diet if they were actually had medical problems. But like they're under no circumstance should you fat shame your child ever. But she would call him a little fatty or a pig, and she would try and restrict his diet as young as like 5 years old, 6 years old. There was an incident where his older sister Mindy was eating alphabets, and he really wanted to have some, and his mom said, no, you can't have any, they're fattening, which of all the kids' cereals.
It already sucks. I mean, you're already desperate for some sugar.
It's Lucky Charms without the marshmallows.
Yeah. It's a bullshit cereal.
There was another incident that I read about in choreography that was really heartbreaking, in which he had taken some cookies. He got in trouble for stealing some cookies because he was hungry. Because sometimes, like, if he got in trouble, his mom would be like, you don't get to eat for the rest of the day. So he stole some cookies. His mom found out. And this is an excerpt from the book. And this is what his mom said to him. Well, then turn around and look at me when I'm talking to you. Do you have any idea how lucky you are? Do you realize that most women would die to look like this after 2 kids? Look at these tits. Ugh. I don't know what that has to do with the cookies.
No, it's more about her wanting her son to say, you have nice tits, Mom. Sorry. Like what?
So they have
the mom has problems.
The mom has
clearly,
the
body issues are hers.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And that is the sad thing, because you know that she probably was made to feel like she had to be super skinny and her body was her whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, to do that to a child is beyond.
It's beyond. Now, his dad wasn't as insane as his mom was in that way, but he wasn't a very present figure in his life. He was on the road all the time. Ooh. He was in a cover band called Scream, and
Scream?
They were called Scream. Uh-huh. And I thought it was funny that Corey said that when his dad went on the road, because they were really just going down to like Orange County to perform at Knott's Berry Farm.
He's on the road.
He's got stuff to do. He's got a gig.
He's in Gardena playing at the Chatterbox.
Seriously. So his dad was also a party guy. He liked to smoke weed and drink.
Right.
And he wasn't in a band. Yeah, and he wasn't as bad as his mom. He did spank him with a leather belt one time until it broke. And we were talking about that was a lot more common in those days.
Well, one time, I mean, come on.
Yeah, I don't know. It might have happened.
But it seems like he wasn't really around.
He wasn't around enough, and he was really with his mom.
That's like he seems more typical neglectful dad of in the 70s. Right? They're just gone.
He was gone. In 1981, Corey starred in Disney's The Fox and the Hound, and his film career began. Now, if you haven't seen The Fox and the Hound, it's a really heartwarming / sad animated tale.
People love animals of different types that are best friends.
Oh my God.
If there's one thing the internet has taught me, people want to see animal best friends that are like
different species.
A tapir and a monkey.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And this was a fox and a hound, like the title says.
It is a cute movie. I would say it's definitely not a top tier Disney movie.
No, and it was like right before the dark era of Disney, which was the 1980s.
Yeah.
So this was 81.
It was before the Disney princesses like saved the franchise
of the 90s. Yeah.
Right.
The ones of the 90s.
I don't even know what came after The Fox and the Hound. Anyway.
It was a bunch of stuff that didn't do well, and then it wasn't until 89 when Little Mermaid came out that Disney had their huge fucking comeback.
And now it's
whatever. It's still
balls
going on.
out.
Balls out.
It's balls deep.
Oh yeah. So Corey voiced
the Hound.
He voiced the Hound. And this wasn't, I'm not going to say this was his breakout role because he was just his voice, but his breakout role really to me was 1983's Gremlins.
Yes.
He was in that, which is a movie I loved also as a kid. And that movie was produced by Steven Spielberg, who was blowing up at the time.
Yeah.
He had done Indiana Jones. Like, he was the director. And he also starred in 1985, the beloved film. I know it was beloved when I was a little child, was The Goonies.
Yes.
So, fun fact, Corey Haim also auditioned for the same part that Feldman played, but Feldman got it. About a month before Corey Feldman booked the Goonies, he tried to kill himself for the first time, and this was by eating a bottle of aspirin. Yes, eating. He actually chewed all of the individual aspirins.
Ugh, that sounds so bitter. Like, how do you...
And chalky.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah, so he was 13 years old. He did get really ill, but he
Survived,
obviously. But he was not, he had a really tough home life with his mom. And he didn't, he had a weird life. And so he was depressed. But when he got the Goonies, he remembers feeling that he felt like things were going to be okay after that. He was going to be going away on location in Oregon to be shooting it. He was going to be away from his mother. He was going to be hanging out with kids his age. And it's interesting that that was sort of his sense of normalcy.
Yes.
As opposed to him being at home with his mom and his sister back in LA. And Feldman was stoked to get this job. He really wanted the part, and he was also a really big fan of the director, who was Richard Donner, and Richard Donner had done Superman with Christopher Reeves. And while filming The Goonies, this is where Corey met his idol, Michael Jackson. Michael came to set to hang out with Corey and the kids in the film, and Steven Spielberg had been, hounded by Corey when Corey found out that he knew Michael Jackson, like, oh my God, please invite him to set. Please invite him to set. I need to meet him. And when he finally did, it was like the greatest day of his fucking life.
Yeah.
And Corey gave Michael his phone number, and Michael actually called him that night.
That's so weird.
He moves fast.
Yeah. He has no chill.
He has no chill. So Michael called him that night, and they talked on the phone for 2.5 hours.
I would love to hear this conversation. Would you? I mean, I would die.
I would love to hear it. What did they talk
goosebumps
about?
Thinking about it.
Right.
I mean, what in the hell how old is he? 13 and Michael
Corey's
Jackson?
13 and Michael Jackson's in his late 20s?
Yeah. I mean, that conversation must have been
mid-20s?
bananas.
I don't know. It's really crazy. But Corey did say that talking to Michael Jackson was like talking to any other kid.
Well, I believe that.
Which is a whole other story. And we will get to that next month.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. So Corey ended up becoming friends with Michael, and they would chat on the phone, and they built this little friendship with each other. This is a really sad story that I wanted to tell because I feel like it really just, it's such a perfect example of the kind of person that his mom was and the relationship she had to Corey Feldman. When they were on set of The Goonies, when Corey and everyone was filming The Goonies, they're about to wrap up. They're getting to the end of the principal photography of the film. Or the whole thing's about to wrap. The whole production, filming's about to wrap. And Richard Donner is like, he's over it. He's done. Working with kids is hard.
Yeah.
It's a really...
I mean, filming a movie is already grueling, but with that many kids, even the best kids, it's going to be irritating.
It's hard. I mean, they're children, and this is a really big production.
Huge.
This movie. And so he's done. He just wants to go take a break and relax. He doesn't want to be around these kids anymore. It kind of become the joke around set that, can't wait to get away from these goddamn kids.
Yeah.
Even though he loved them and he was perfectly fine.
Yeah, he needed a break.
He needed a break. So a memo started being sent around the set that, hey, wouldn't it be funny if we all the cast members showed up at Richard Donner's vacation house in Maui when he gets there after we're done filming?
It's a brutal prank.
It is such a prank, a brutal prank. So everyone, without Richard knowing, gets 2 tickets, one for themselves and one for a guest, to go to Maui and surprise Richard Donner when they get to his house. And it's going to be, you can't get away from us. Very funny. And Corey's really excited because who doesn't want to prank their director? Unfortunately, Corey was supposed to go with his mom, and his mom was really fucking late getting them to the airport, like an hour later than they should have been. Like, I mean, it was like he was stressed on the way to the airport with his mom. Like, Mom, like, come on, like, you didn't have to go. You didn't, like,
He's like, oh, these tits are going to Hawaii. Like,
right.
I know that type of woman where they're like, this is my thing. Like,
yeah, I'm going. It wasn't about Corey.
No, it's about her having some glamorous vacation, maybe hooking up with some like rich men.
Right. I mean, and so it was just very selfish. Like, he was late. She didn't care that he was late. And Corey talked about in his book that he was literally pressing his face to the glass inside the airport watching his flight take off.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
he
that's
missed
depressing.
Yeah, it was really
because
sad.
she didn't give a fuck about the prank. She just wants to go to Maui.
Right. Because Corey did still end up getting to go to Maui. They put them on another flight, but he missed the whole point of the trip, which was this elaborate prank to prank Richard Donner. And Corey said that was really the moment that he never forgave his mom. He decided, he was like, she doesn't care about me. Like,
that's how I feel too. I have these moments that are very small, but they're like significant.
Yeah. And that was that moment to him, is like, she broke my heart in this instant. Corey was cast then in 1986's Stand By Me, which is one of my top 10 all-time favorite films. It's a Rob Reiner film, and Corey said that when he auditioned, part of the reason that he got the part was because Rob Reiner could really see the pain in his eyes. Aww. And for anyone who hasn't seen Stand By Me, the part that Corey Feldman plays in the movie is Teddy Duchamp, and Teddy is the child of an alcoholic, abusive father. So there is some parallels there to that relationship. And Corey had a lot to draw on, and he wasn't even really conscious of what he was drawing on. Yes. He sort of recalled. It just
was there, yeah.
It was there within him. And the movie stars also River Phoenix, who is
the hottest child star ever.
The hottest person to ever exist in the universe. It stars Will Wheaton, who's very popular on Twitter.
For nerds.
And Jerry O'Connell, who's great.
Yeah.
Jerry O'Connell.
He's fine.
Yeah.
He got hotter.
Jerry O'Connell got hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I really like that movie. I actually just was thinking, like, I did love that pie eating scene so much when I first saw that movie.
Oh, I use that GIF all the time.
It is that scene was unbelievable to me when I saw it as a kid, because it's such a, you can't believe they're watching it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. So funny. And it's such a Stephen King moment too.
Yeah.
Like,
no, it's a good movie. I mean, I haven't seen it forever, but I loved that movie when I saw it.
I mean, that is the movie that does make me ugly projectile cry when I see it.
Yeah.
It's just so heartwarming.
I should see it again.
It's great. I love it. So Corey said that filming Stand By Me in the summer of 1985 really marked the end of his innocence, which is sort of what the film is about. It was the first time that he got drunk. It was the first time that he smoked pot, and River lost his virginity during that time while they were filming. I don't know with who, maybe some townie.
I'm like jealous.
I know. I heard that too. I was like, don't tell me.
I don't want to know who.
I don't want to know who my childhood crush was having sex. And one night after filming, River and Corey went into town and they got drunk with some local teens. And that was sort of also Corey's moment as an alcoholic. This is his first time ever getting drunk. And if you are an alcoholic, every alcoholic has that moment that they realize that, oh, this is the solution for me. This is what's going to what's going to fix me.
Yeah.
And that was his moment. Months after shooting Stand By Me, Corey found a vial of Coke in his mom's room and he tried it. And he liked it. But he was more into weed at that time and drinking. And at this time, around this same time, Corey met a man named Marty Weiss. And he was a man who worked at the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films. Marty was in his 20s at the time, and he asked Corey if they wanted to get together and hang out. And Corey said he couldn't hang out or go out anywhere because his mom didn't really let him out. He was sheltered. He really just went to school or work. And Marty says to Corey, well, maybe we can have a secret friendship. Ugh. Which I know many kids probably don't listen to our show, but if you're a child and an adult ever wants to have a quote unquote secret friendship with you, run as fast as you can.
I mean, what?
Yeah. So Corey did want to be friends with this guy, and they'd hang out and they'd go to the arcade or the mall together. And Marty also introduced Corey to his friend Jason Pressman, and the three of these guys were hanging out together. Corey and these two men in their 20s were hanging out, and Corey was 14 at the time.
That's normal.
Yeah, that's normal. When Corey Feldman booked the role of Edgar Frog in The Lost Boys, he'd found out that he would be starring alongside fellow child actor Corey Haim. Now, Corey Feldman knew about Haim just from around hearing about him going on auditions, and he'd heard about this guy. He'd never met him before,
Right.
but
They were on the radar because they were like both Corys.
they were both Corys. They're both the same age. They're both child actors. And
Right.
Corey Feldman hated Haim at first. Just like he had a resentment against him. He's like, oh, I don't like that guy. There's only one Corey in this town, and it's me.
Yeah.
And he also dated this
There
girl
ain't
I
room
like.
enough this town for two Corys. But narrator voice, there was. Sorry, that's such a hack joke, but I did it anyway.
It really
and I
works.
cracked myself up.
It really works for this.
Secret shame.
So before the filming of The Lost Boys began, Corey Haim reached out to Corey Feldman and was like, hey, let's meet up, let's hang out. And Corey Feldman was like, that's really nice of him to reach out to me. Maybe he's not so bad. And when they met up, they hit it off right away. They were like instant best buds. And I thought this quote was really funny from Choreography. Corey's talking about how they're realizing that they're going to be best friends. I mean, this is straight out of the movie Step Brothers.
Right.
Sort of. That
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's so like schmaltzy, but it's cute. So Corey goes, wait a minute. Your name is Corey. My name is Corey.
Sorry.
You're Jewish and I'm Jewish. You're an actor and I'm an actor. And your favorite number is 22 and mine's 222. Two 14-year-olds, these coincidences, this cosmic connection. Well, it all seemed very deep.
It's also like a really desperate girl who's trying to make some relationship seem more important.
Well, my astrologer said,
Wait, you were born? Just like the whole. I mean, coincidences just make me sad anyway. But they need to be a little more significant than you're an actor and I'm an actor. It's like, no shit.
that's why you're hanging out.
Exactly.
That's exactly why you
Well,
guys
at
met
least
up.
3 of those coincidences are already known. Like,
Right.
come on.
Your name's Corey?
I mean, Corey is a pretty popular name too at that period.
In the 80s.
Right? Yeah,
I feel like there was a lot Corey's
I knew
everywhere.
at least 10 Corey.
Right. And in the 90s, I knew a bunch of Jasons. I mean,
come on.
come on.
You're Jennifer. I'm Jennifer. Come on.
So Corey Haim was born December 23rd, 1971 in Toronto. Haim would start his acting career a little bit later than Feldman. As a kid, he initially enrolled in drama classes to help overcome his shyness. As a youth, he was really into ice hockey, which is very Canadian. And when he was 10, he made his television debut on a Canadian TV series for kids called The Edison Twins. In 1984, he made his film debut starring alongside Sarah Jessica Parker and Robert Downey Jr. in Firstborn. Corey Haim then landed the title role in the 1986 film Lucas. And during filming, an adult male on set who was part of the production told Haim that it was perfectly normal for kids and adults to have sexual relations. During lunch break one day, the adult took Corey Haim behind some of the trailers in an area where no one could see, and he sodomized him.
Ugh.
Corey Haim at the time had no idea that he had just been raped. Haim, after all, had been told that this was all a very normal part of the entertainment business. And though Feldman had never been sexually abused before physically at that point, he did later reveal in 1993 when he was questioned about Michael Jackson that Michael actually once showed him a picture books of diseased genitalia when he was 14. And so that was at that time when Corey Haim had gotten abused and he told Feldman about it.
Right.
Corey Haim was thinking, that didn't happen to him. So he knew, he was like, that's not normal.
Yeah.
And he told Corey Haim, he said, what happened to you is not normal. It's not
Part of the industry.
part of the industry. And Corey Haim was like, well, now we know.
Yeah.
that's not the case. But Corey Haim was like, really? Like everyone, I've been told that that's just normal,
Ugh,
which is
that's so sad.
tragic and heartbreaking. One day while they were filming The Lost Boys, after filming that one day, an extra approached Corey Feldman. Feldman was exhausted from a long day of shooting, and she offered him something back at her place to make him, quote, feel better. It was Coke. They did Coke all night together, and Corey was up until the next day, well into the next day. He didn't sleep at all. And the only problem was that he had a 5 p.m. call time that day, and he was going to do an all-night shoot. So he was supposed to have been sleeping during the day.
Right.
So he could be up at night.
Be up and stay up all night.
Right. Corey was obviously a mess on set by the time he got there. He could barely finish his scene, which was a big one for him. He had a really big speech. And Joel Schumacher, who was the director, was fucking pissed off. And Joel was like, get the fuck off my set. You're done. He fired him right there.
Wow.
But Joel called Corey the next day to rehire him. And since Corey's mom, who was on set as his guardian, was not doing a good job because she was doing coke too and not watching after him, and like, hello, your son just
Can you
party
imagine
all
they
night.
must have been like, get this fucking like she was useless. Like,
yeah, she was useless. Like
my God.
she had one job and she couldn't watch after her son while he's going gallivanting off doing cocaine all night, and he's 15 years old.
and she's probably at like the bar.
Oh yes,
Like
totally.
partying.
So, yeah, you're done. So they get this guy, Marty Weiss, to come to Santa Cruz to set to look after Corey. If that name sounds familiar, it's because you've heard about him in the documentary that's called An Open Secret. It's on YouTube. It's about pedophiles in the industry. So this guy is not a good guy.
Yeah.
And one night, the two Coreys and Marty Weiss were all hanging out together. Marty Weiss, of course, was in his 20s, and the two Coreys are both 15. Corey Haim had this thing where he would get super horny out of the blue and be like, I need to satisfy my dick.
Right.
Like immediately. And Feldman was talking about how it was so annoying because he would be like, once he was set on it, he was like, no, I got to get fucked. I got to get blown. I got to fucking fuck. Like, I need to get off. I don't know why he didn't do that, but
so he needed to get fucked.
He needed to get fucked. And obviously Corey Haim probably doesn't have a very healthy relationship with
his
sex.
penis?
Well, yeah, with his penis.
Oh,
or
right, with sex.
Yeah, with sex. So they're all, these three of these guys are hanging out together, and he would not let it go. And
oh, that sounds so irritating.
yeah, and Feldman was getting really irritated with him. So
is that like a cocaine thing?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, so I'm just wondering if there's like a
Haim
drug.
wasn't doing cocaine at that point.
Right. I guess I was wondering if there's a drug you take that gets you horny.
Feldman in
besides
the book,
poppers.
Well, Feldman in the book was that's meth that gets you horny.
Oh, meth gets you horny. Yeah.
But Feldman was talking about how it was probably because he just had a really unhealthy relationship.
Right.
And he just didn't care. He needed to fuck anything.
Yeah.
He said that Corey Haim was always very overtly
Well, maybe
sexual.
it was like his stress relief.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah. That's how he was coping with whatever. I mean, yeah, Andy was 15-year-old, very hormonal boy.
Combination of things.
There's a lot of things. So Feldman, as a joke, goes, well, why don't you fuck Marty? He's gay. And Haim looks at Marty Weiss and he goes, is that true? And Marty Weiss is like, no, I'm not gay. I mean, I like boys and girls, but I'm not gay.
Ugh.
And Haim was just like, well, if you're gay, can you just take care of me?
God.
And Haim and Marty Weiss then went into the adjoining room together and had sex, and Feldman said he could hear everything and that he was disgusted and upset with himself that he had even jokingly suggested that. Because, of course, Marty Weiss is older.
Rape.
It's child rape. It's like, you know, and Feldman knew that it was wrong, even though it was like, oh, well, Haim's willingly doing this, but he knew that it was wrong. Because he can't consent at 15 years old.
Obviously, yeah.
This also happened another time with Haim and an even older man that was in the industry, where Haim, quote unquote, willingly wanted to get off, so and
he fucked this older
had
guy.
relations with an older man. And Corey knew him, Feldman knew him, and he felt, incredibly guilty about all of this. And But in 1987, by the time The Lost Boys came out, the two Coreys were teen idols. They were, like I said before, on every cover of Bop and Teen Beat and Tiger
And that's when
Beat.
they were really the Coreys. Like, it was a thing.
It was a thing. It was Corey Mania. And Corey Feldman starts hanging out at the Comedy Store and, you know, partying with comics like Sam Kinison, who became his really good friend, and taking Quaaludes because it's the 80s and they still make them then. He also met Ron Jeremy, who introduced him to Ginger Lynn. And Ginger Lynn, who was 24 at the time, blew Corey Feldman in a parking lot in her Porsche when he was 15.
That's so wrong.
I
like how there's like 880s things in that one section.
I know. Sam Kinison, Ron Jeremy, Comedy Store, Ginger Lynn,
Porsche.
Which was the fancy rich asshole car du jour in 1987.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So, yeah. But he, you know, that's not good. She is way too old for him.
Wait. Oh God.
Yeah. One day, Corey Feldman was with his assistant, John Grissom, at Corey's apartment that he shared with his dad. The two had been out partying together, and Corey was pretty fucked up on pills when John began touching him. John then led Corey into his father's bedroom, and Corey was frozen at this point, which is a very common response to molestation. He just wanted to get it over with. This was also his friend. He considered this guy his friend. He didn't know really what was happening. And Corey recalls trying to rationalize all of this to make sense of it. And he was recalling what Corey Haim had said, like, oh, this is normal. It's part of the business. Just get through it. It'll be over soon.
Right.
And that's what he had to do to get through that moment. And John had oral sex. He performed oral sex on Corey Feldman then. After a crazy 2-day party bender, John molested Corey Feldman again. And Corey just wanted to ignore that any of this was going down with his friend. He didn't want to not be friends with him. He felt really uncomfortable. But John continued to prey upon Corey for months. All right, Desi, what do you know about Alfie's Soda Pop Shop?
I know that it was like a exclusive club for underage kids.
Yeah.
Like
Teen club. A teen club for
like celebrity kind of child stars and child star adjacents.
Yeah, child star adjacents and child stars. So it was like, and they served only soda there. There was no booze, and they had little concerts like there.
Chaste.
It was chaste. And you'd go there and you'd see Ricky Schroeder.
Yeah.
And Alyssa Milano.
Right.
And those people. And Tina Yothers. You would see Tina Yothers. I saw a picture of her with the Feldmans.
That's amazing. I literally haven't thought of Tina.
I know.
I haven't heard that name
in years. I'm trying to make this episode the most 80s thing possible.
Really, it's like you're hitting all the marks.
So, the two Coreys actually hosted the very first party at the club. And the club was run by a guy named Alfie Hoffman. And he was the son of a major casting director named Bobby Hoffman. So Corey at this time needs to get away from his assistant who's molesting him. So he goes to stay over at Alfie.
I love that he has to get away from his assistant. Like, that is insane to me that this person he is paying is molesting him. I mean, it's just so crazy.
It just goes to show like how crazy abuse is in that from an outsider's perspective, you're like, just fire him.
Right.
But he's a 15-year-old kid, and he considers
he's also
this guy
probably
a friend.
very close to this person.
Yeah, they were friends.
Yeah.
He groomed him.
It's just so insane to me, though.
It's tragic. It's really tragic. And Corey wanted to get away from him just for a couple nights. Like, I can't confront him yet, but I don't, so he goes away to stay at Alfie's house. And he was over there with another teen actor named Harold Pruitt. And they were doing a bunch of blow together when Alfie came into the room and put on some porn and sat down next to Corey Feldman. Ugh.
That's just exactly what happened in that episode of Different Strokes.
Right. And it is a classic predatorial move.
Yeah, we're just watching two people make love.
Right. That's normal.
Yeah.
It's great.
It's
to look
normal
at.
to a man and a woman making love is beautiful. Or
Right.
a woman and a woman, man
Right.
and a man.
Whatever.
We don't judge.
We're not judge. But it's a very common tactic with predators.
Right. Because it's sort of this little gateway.
Yeah, to ease it in. It's part of the grooming process. And though nothing physical happened that night, the next night that he stayed there, he did wake up to Alfie on top of him while he was passed out. Ugh. So he ran back to his dad's house where his assistant, of course, was staying. I mean,
Oh, God.
I mean, this is like the tragedy of it all.
There's like nowhere for him to go.
There was nowhere for this kid to go. Corey did later discover that Bobby Hoffman was not Alfie's father, but in fact his lover, and that the two of them had been grooming young boys together in the industry. Yeah.
Gross.
In 1987, Corey fired his dad as his manager and decided to become emancipated, which is where you legally become an adult,
Right.
like financially, and you can rent
Make
your own place,
decisions.
make your own decisions without your parents. He had to pay off his dad some money, paid him off pretty much all that he had, which was about $40,000. I was reading this memoir, driving myself crazy. Like, he's been in all these huge hit films.
Right.
And he doesn't seem to have a lot of money. His parents have been essentially...
His parents were blowing through it.
They were blowing through all of his money in the 80s.
Well, I feel like a lot of protections have come into place now.
Yeah.
That protect child stars.
I mean, and there was the whole thing in the mid-90s with Macaulay Culkin. That whole case that happened where it became... I mean, so he was not... But he didn't care. He didn't care that he was going to be broke. He just wanted to get away from his dad. His dad wasn't protecting him. He wanted to get his own place.
Yeah.
So luckily he had 2 films on the horizon, Dream a Little Dream and License to Drive. And both of these films also starred Corey Haim. So
these were like, this is when they started monopolizing on the popularity of the two Coreys. And these movies both stink.
Yeah, they're not great.
Yeah.
License,
it was like they were rushed into production to capitalize on this.
Totally. They're just throwaway teen
They're throwaway
movies.
teen movies, yeah.
Let's see. Both of them starred the 2 Coreys. And by this time, Corey Feldman was doing a lot of coke, and Corey Haim also started getting into it as well. John Grissom still continued to find a way to molest Corey Feldman, so he just couldn't even get away from that. But Feldman and Sam Kinnison's friendship grew, so he was still partying with the Comedy Store guys
That's such
a lot.
a weird friendship.
Well, I mean, Corey was just hanging out with all these older men.
Yeah.
Like, he just...
Also, it seems like he's going into like these other arenas, like music and comedy. Like,
Yeah. He's like, did not just stick to the one thing that he was really, really good at, which is acting, which he's a great actor.
yeah.
Not so good musician. We're going to get into that a little bit later. Corey was also convinced by his assistant to try crack, and he did. Thanks, John. And one day, after a particularly crazy bender that the 2 Coreys went on together, they woke up to all these messages, like 17 voicemails on their answering machines. Like, where are you guys? You're supposed to be on set. You're supposed to be on set. They were 3 hours late to set for License to Drive because they were out partying. And they almost got fired. Like, they almost just shut the whole fucking production down.
Right.
And this was sort of their first real moment that the cracks were starting to show in their behavior.
Fuck up
Yeah.
publicly.
Haim broke his leg right before filming Dream a Little Dream, which came out after License to Drive. That came out, Dream a Little Dream came out in 1989. That starred the 2 Coreys and Meredith Salinger. Congrats on your marriage to Patton Oswalt today. At this time, Haim broke his leg right before filming, and he got hooked on prescription painkillers. That was where he fell in love with pills, was during that time. Corey was also filming The Burbs around the same time, which starred Tom Hanks and Carrie Fisher. And Carrie Fisher pulls Corey Feldman aside and is like, look, we got to have the talk. You're a drug addict. Like, what's going on? Like, she sits him down to have the talk.
She's probably like one of the only people that would legit scare me. Like,
Oh
being
my
mad.
God.
If she was mad at me, I would be like, okay, I'm sorry.
You're right. I mean, like, and she had
And
just.
she fucking knows it. Like,
She
he
knows
can't
it.
bullshit her.
Carrie knew every fucking lie in the book because she invented every lie in the
Right.
book. She knows it. I mean, any addict that's been sober for a while or gotten real recovery or is in that, like, knows.
Yeah.
Just like myself, I know every fucking lie in the book. I
Yeah.
invented all the lies. I know them all. I know all the excuses. I did all the excuses. So Corey really was convinced that he didn't have a problem because at that time, Haim had recently checked into rehab for like 30 days.
Right.
He really thought, oh, you know, my friends and I said we were going to kind of
We're stopping.
we're stopping.
Yeah.
That was just a phase. And he really believed that. But after breaking up with his girlfriend, Charlie Spradling, Corey Feldman decides to try heroin at the suggestion of his assistant, John Grissom.
What a great guy.
Really great guy. And he
Wait, how is Grissom spelled?
Grissom.
Okay. Every time you say it, I think of John Grisham. And I'm like, wait, what?
We're not talking
But
about
it's
John
Grissom.
Grissom. It's
Uh-huh.
Grissom.
Yeah.
And Corey Feldman loves heroin. And meanwhile, Corey Haim got really into crack. So Feldman decides that, you know, because Haim is like looking a lot worse than Feldman at this point. Feldman seems to be holding it together more, but Haim is really like circling the drain. And Feldman decides that he should invite Haim to come with him to this benefit concert he's doing in Idaho, which is going to be at a high school for like a Mothers Against Drunk Driving thing.
Oh, God.
Which is such the classic
Yeah.
80s teen star doing an anti-drinking, anti-drug thing when they're high.
It's like, I feel like something else did that recently where they were like famously something.
But like fucked up.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's almost like you have to.
Right. You have to. So they get to Idaho and Corey Feldman thinks the trip went great. But little did he know that Haim decided to spend the entire trip on a drunken bender. He actually went around to different high school kids asking them if they had any crack. He took the keys to the limo that they had rented. I don't know, poor limo driver was probably like, I just imagine him on the street eating a hot dog, seeing the limo whiz past him
This
and go,
also
hey.
seems like an assholey child star thing.
No,
or like a rich
totally.
kid. Like, I stole like the toy with that Richard Pryor.
It is like the toy.
I stole the limo. It's like these asshole rich kids. My God.
And that's what he did. He steals the limo. He goes on this drunken joyride throughout the town, this little town in Idaho, and he picks up random people on the street. Like, can you even imagine if
That must be their happiest memory.
if you were in Idaho in 1989 and you got picked up on the street by Corey Haim? Write us in. We want to hear about it. HollywoodCrimeScene@gmail.com.
I mean, I would love to hear this.
I would love to hear we want your stories.
I wouldn't have gone because I was very anti drunk driving.
And I would have hopped in that limo so fucking quickly.
Yeah, she would have been like, I have the crack.
If Corey Haim pulls up in a limo and like the little cap on,
Yeah.
like, hey baby, I'm licensed to drive.
Gross. You're like, that line would have worked on me.
Totally. I mean, it's Corey Haim. He was a babe. Okay, so then Corey Haim also trashes his hotel room
Of course.
because he got to. And by the time the two boys returned to LA, their antics were all over the news. And they were officially bad boys. They were Lindsay Lohan's. And Oh, are you singing Hanging Tough? Or no, The Right Stuff. What was that?
Oh, because they're bad boys for life.
Oh, Bad Boys for Life. I'm sorry. I'm in
Sorry.
a very 1989
Sorry,
mood right now.
I jacked it up to 90s.
Okay, so they're bad boys for life. In 1989, while on a press junket for Dream a Little Dream, the two Coreys decided to throw a huge party at their penthouse suite that the studio had rented out for them. The studio was nice enough to be like, hey, on your last day here, well, you don't have to work. Just, you know, you guys did a great
Have
job.
fun.
Have fun, get a massage, order room service, watch a movie.
Breakfast in bed.
Right. And they're like, okay. So they take the kindness out of the studio who's paying for this really nice suite at the Four Seasons and they just fucking run with it. They have this huge rock star party there. They invite everybody in town, I guess. And it's like hundreds of people just crammed into this suite. They're ordering bottles of Dom Perignon. They're ordering vodka. They're ordering room service. They're making a mess. They're trashing the place. Like, they got tons of noise complaints. There were definitely people streaking in the hall. There was one.
Can you imagine being at this fancy hotel and this shit is going on?
Like, you're just there. Like, you just want to relax. You're at the Four Seasons.
You're from, like, Missouri. You're like, we're in Hollywood.
And they're checking out, and the studio exec sees the bill, and he's pissed. This was a $10,000 party.
Damn.
That's how much it cost.
Wait, didn't you mentioned something before we recorded about the vodka and orange juice?
Oh, yeah.
I love this detail.
Yeah, this detail is really good. So Corey Feldman, while he was partying during this hotel party, he takes the ice bucket and he just fills it up with vodka and orange juice and was carrying this giant ice bucket around the party, just drinking out of it.
It's so demented.
I thought it was
love that
cute.
image.
Yeah.
Like,
There was also
I don't want to fucking do a million refills.
there was also something that there was also another weird detail in his story that was like someone smeared butter all over the walls or all over the mirrors.
That's like, you have to have something like that in a crazy party.
Oh, totally.
Right?
Where it's like not offensive but weird.
Yeah. There's nothing like super damaging about it, but it's like a mess someone's gonna have to clean up. Someone put jam on my bed sheets. Like, I mean, it's just like it has to be something stupid where you're like, I'm irritated, even though I can just wash them. It's like, why? Fuck you.
There was always, and that is such a thing I would have done when I was 17.
Right, because you don't want to do something super bad, but you're kind of like, fuck, let's do something stupid. And it probably starts off for some legit reason, like, I'm hungry.
One thing we always used to do, like I would go, this is like such a Marin County kid fucking story, but like when I was in high school, my best friend Spencer, his parents had, or his mom had this gorgeous fucking house in Napa, like their Napa house. And
look, if a kid is named Spencer, they fucking have money.
They had a gorgeous house in Napa. It was really cool. And me and him and my other best friend Christina, we would just drive up there on the weekends and fucking trash the place. I mean, we would always like clean it up really good in the morning, like super hungover. But we would leave shit there always. Like someone would always leave their panties like on a lampshade, and like the mom would be like, whose fucking underwear? And the other thing that always happened is for some reason we thought it was really funny to every time we got there we would hide a full shot of alcohol somewhere in the house, and whoever found it at the end of the night was just like, oh, here's the shot we hid at the beginning of the night.
It was like the prize in the cracker jar.
And it would always be like in the microwave or something stupid like that.
But one of you hit it, right?
Yeah, one of us hit it, but you get so blackout drunk you didn't know where you hit it. And we'd never end up finding the shot. The mom would find the shot like in the microwave or like in the medicine cabinet or something. I mean, but it's just stupid and irritating, that kind of stuff when you're a kid.
Really stupid. Very stupid, Rachel.
I haven't thought about that in forever. That was before things were a problem, but they weren't that much of a problem.
Yeah, they were still fun.
They were still fun with problems then. Okay, so in 1989, Corey Feldman went to the Oscars with Drew Barrymore, who was his girlfriend at the time. That's it. That's the end of that story.
Interesting.
I'll post a picture on Instagram this week. After a few months of dating a girl that he met at a vegetarian restaurant in the Valley named Vanessa Marcil, Corey Feldman and her got really drunk in Vegas and they got married. And he really meant it, but she thought it was like a funny joke, which I feel like is really sad. Like they got married and he's like, oh my God, this is the happiest day. I'm so glad we did this. And they're like on the plane back or something. And she's like, well, we're not really married. And he's like, baby, we got married. We signed the marriage license.
Ugh.
We really got married. And she's like, yeah, but we just met each other. We're not going to like live together or anything, right? Like, how dumb is this bitch?
I don't know how people accidentally get married.
I don't either.
I have never been
either.
that wasted where I would marry someone.
I have been that wasted and I've still never done it.
Right. I mean, that's
what
like,
I don't understand.
on the very basis level, it would seem very boring to me. I'm not fucking standing around and doing this shit. Like, I want to either lie down or eat some fucking food in a diner. Like, I'm not gonna go fucking get married. Like,
some people just don't take marriage that seriously.
I don't take it that seriously either, but I still don't want to do it.
Well, I mean, I don't take it seriously in like the traditional sense. Like, you must not.
But it's weird that people who do take it seriously would do that, though.
Right.
Like, clearly, she took it seriously, but then she'd still, you know what I mean? Like,
right. Well, that's what I'm saying. I was like, what do you mean it's too soon? And like, she wouldn't move in with him after they got married either, because she's like, we don't know each other well enough. It's like, you just fucking married this guy in Vegas.
Right.
Like, what do you mean?
Right.
So, whatever. They had their relationship. He was like madly in love with her. He really did want to be married to this woman. And Corey Feldman falls fast. Like, this is a pattern with him. He fell fast for Drew Barrymore. He fell fast for the girl he was with before Drew Barrymore. He fell fast for this girl. Like, this is a pattern in his life. And I think this is not that abnormal for alcoholics. In my own experience, where you're at least in your addiction and you're like, it's hard to be single, or it's hard to, any sort of thing to make you feel better about yourself, to fill that void. Like, you're going to glom onto whether you're conscious of it or not.
Right.
So I feel like that is kind of indicative of his alcoholism. But he was trying to hide, she didn't know that he was addicted to heroin, and he's trying to hide his heroin. And he actually was trying to also clean up his public image by agreeing to do a Disney TV movie, which was, of course, a step down for him after he had been doing all these huge, big productions and critically acclaimed films. Yeah, now he's doing this made-for-TV Disney movie for the wonderful world of Disney, and it's cheesy and it's not that good, but he's taking it. He just wants to work. He wants to work. And in 1990, Corey Feldman went downtown to score some heroin, and he ends up getting arrested for drug possession. This is his first arrest. He is then urged to enter rehab before his court date to show that he's serious about cleaning up his life. And he decides to go to a really fancy rehab in Malibu, where members of Jane's Addiction who were staying there taught him how to shoot up heroin.
Oh, lovely.
And I felt like that's a very 1990 moment.
Oh, yeah, Jane's Addiction.
Jane's Addiction teaching Corey
and Two
Feldman.
Princes was playing. Sorry. No, I don't check my dates because I don't know.
That's 92, Desi.
Cut you loser.
I swear it's like something wrong with me that I'm like such a savant about knowing dates. There's something seriously
You're
wrong
like the
with
kid
me.
in school where you're like, I'm fucking up all over, but I'm gonna get my dates right in this book
That's
report.
my life story. Like, I'm not that smart about a lot of stuff. I failed freshman algebra so many times. They were like, just don't even take it anymore. But for some reason, that's like the one thing I have a photographic memory of. Okay, so he leaves rehab. He books a new film with one of his co-stars from Dream a Little Dream, Meredith Salinger. He is a liability at this point, so he's made to submit drug tests if he's going to be allowed to do the film. But he decides that drinking and smoking weed were never a problem for me. So,
Right.
I mean, that's also the classic.
Yeah, I'll just do these things.
I'll just do these things.
These are like kindergarten.
Right. And I also, just now that we're on that topic, to everyone who's ever said to me, who doesn't know me, like, well, can't you just smoke weed? Honey,
Yeah.
no, I can't just smoke weed. And we're going to show you why. We're going to show you what happens when I just smoke weed, is what happened to Corey. So, he went back on the crack and the heroin after just smoking weed and drinking.
Because you're wasted.
Because you're high and you're like, this isn't really cutting it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do what I like to do, which is crack or heroin or drinking. Or even if you don't even advance to those things, you're just being a fucking loser who's getting high all the time because you need to numb that. So he gets arrested again. Like,
Buying heroin.
And
I feel like a lot of stars have gotten arrested downtown LA buying heroin. I remember that Brad Renfro arrests.
And he has to go back to rehab for 30 days. So he checks back into this fancy Malibu place. And after 30 days, he checks into Cry Help, which is a facility in the valley. it's like a rehab / sober living, and it's really hardcore. It's like, it's not fancy. It's very stripped down. They have a lot of rules there. And it's a good place to go if you're serious. Especially, it's probably a really good place to go if you've been sort of given everything before and you've been living it. You know, it's very stripped down. Whatever. I'm not going to go into my whole fucking opinion about that. I think those places are good. I think if you're going to go to a rehab, don't go to a fucking fancy place.
Yeah.
I went to a fancy place, got kicked out of there. Then I went to a really stripped down hardcore place, and that was a good thing for me.
Yeah.
That was a really good thing for me. He ends up getting kicked out of Cry Help because he's breaking the rules there, and he wasn't getting high, but his wife, Vanessa, had been leaving her panties for him, like, outside of his window.
What the fuck? I like how all of a sudden she's into it.
Right.
I don't know if I want to live together.
Here's my undies. So they kick him out, and they say they'll let him back in if he does 30 AA meetings in 30 days, comes back with the little permission slips that you give.
Right.
Whatever. And he does. But before he checks back into Cry Help, he decides, I'm going to party just one last time.
I mean, I kind of get that, like, where I eat a lot before I start my time.
It's the same principle.
I'm like, I need to eat all the food in my house.
Cut to you 4 days later,
Yeah.
like covered in crumbs.
Yeah.
And it's the same
Okay, I'm
principle.
going to start next Monday.
It's the same principle.
Exactly.
It's the exact same fucking thing. Mind you guys, I just want to remind everyone, Corey Feldman was 20 years old.
Wow.
I mean, like,
He's still young.
he's young. He's a baby. And then I'm like, well, I guess I was 20 when I got sober. But yeah, it's like, that's how fast it can go for some certain people. Corey managed to book a couple of B movies, including Meatballs 4.
I honestly feel like I saw that movie.
Oh my God.
I swear to God, I think I saw this
Four?
movie.
The fourth?
I honestly don't know why I have this memory of seeing it with him in it.
Every time it's the first day of summer, I always sing the Meatballs original one song. The one's like, are you ready for the summer?
Yeah, that's a good one.
I always sing that on the first day of summer. So I think this Meatballs 4 story is actually really funny and sad. But
I mean, the best things.
he booked a movie. He thought the movie he booked was called Happy Campers, and it was called Happy Campers. However, after they were done filming, they changed the title to... They changed the title to Meatballs 4.
Because they're like, we need people to come see this movie. They're going to love the Meatballs franchise. The Meatballs franchise was a hot franchise.
In 1982 or whenever it came out.
How sad.
So he was pissed. He was like, what? I'm in a Meatballs movie?
That is
I'm
just
Corey
wah,
fucking
wah.
Feldman. There's nothing he can do about it.
He had some standards. He was going to do Happy Campers, but not Meatballs 4. I mean, come on.
So at the time, he was taking his sobriety seriously. He did sober up again. He was going to AA meetings. He ended up breaking up with his wife, Vanessa, after a 3-year, very tumultuous relationship. In the 90s, the Coreys signed on to a 3-picture deal. They were going to revive the Coreys. And they agreed to do 3 pictures together. One of them they made was a made-for-HBO 1993 film, which actually did really well. But I don't know. I don't think I ever saw it.
What's it called?
I don't remember. I didn't put it down.
I didn't see it either.
But by 1995, Corey Feldman had relapsed on painkillers. Then he decides, well, if I relapsed, I'll smoke weed again and drink. But then came, of course, the coke and the heroin. Corey Feldman did get sober again and decided that he was going to focus on his music, his passion.
Wait, that's what he did when he got sober.
He wasn't being honest with himself. In 1998, he released an album with his band Truth Movement, and they went on tour together. Doesn't Truth Movement just sound like an Alex Jones spin-off website?
Yeah, it's like a poor man's Alex Jones, like Truth Movement.
Dot biz.
And they sell like supplemental vitamins and stuff.
And they talk about Pizzagate.
And buying gold.
Right.
You've got to get those meals that last, right?
Right.
Those dried
Gotta
meals.
get 'em. So They went on tour together, and Corey talks about how even though a lot of people didn't show up to his shows, he would see people in like Corey, like Goonies shirts and be like, "Aw."
Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
Where do you even get Goonies shirts? I'm sorry.
Well, now you can probably get them at like Hot Topic or
Right.
whatever. But so in 2001, Corey Feldman met his next wife, Susie Sprague, at a nightclub.
Susie Sprague.
Why is that funny?
Susie Sprague. Why is that funny? No one knows, but it's fucking funny. Susie Sprague. Like what? You have your last name is Sprague. I mean, come on.
Now is the time on Sprague. It's when we dance.
Sprague. Yeah, exactly. Susie Sprague. I mean, she's like the sidekick, right? She's like the one, she comes in, she's played by that week's SNL star, you know? They're like, we didn't know Sprockets had a sister. she's in avant-garde theater. I mean, what the hell? Sorry. I just had
Susie recognized Corey Feldman at the bar and was like...
This is all so amazing.
And was like, "Are you Corey Feldman?" And he was like...
I'm Susie Sprague. If your name is Susie Sprague, you're always saying Susie Sprague, right? Okay, I'm sorry, I can't.
And he was like, "Yeah, I am Corey Feldman." They fucked the first night.
What?
And this is so Corey Feldman and made me really sad. But they spent the next 2 days together, and he told her his whole fucking life story, everything in the first 2 days they met.
And she was like, oh my God, he's so sensitive.
Yes. There was like, I mean, Corey falls fast, and Corey is an oversharer
Okay.
to girls, apparently. I get it. I fucking get it. When you're damaged, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay?
You're like, you need to know me.
You need to know me. You need to know what kind of
I'm
shit
always
you're
sort
getting
of halfway
into.
like, you need to know this because you can leave now. This is your chance to leave before you fall in love with me.
Right. But I feel like she'd be like, "You're Corey Feldman. I know."
Right. She's like, I've read Bob. I know all about you. Your favorite food is Hot Pocket.
Right.
Your favorite color is teal.
So Corey Feldman, this is crazy, this story. So Corey Feldman takes Susie to an event in New York City where his dear old friend Michael Jackson is performing. This is in 2001. There was a big party before this event. And before they go to the party, they have a great time, whatever, yuck it up with all these celebrities. And before Michael's performance, Corey is trying to get backstage to go see his performance. And they're like, wait here in this holding room for Michael. You know, he's like, it's me, it's Corey Feldman.
Remember we talked 2 hours on the phone?
And when MJ finally gets there, he's cold. To
How
Corey.
old are you?
Oh my God. And Michael meets Corey backstage, and Corey's like, why are you being so weird and like cold to me? We've been friends for like a decade, you know,
Right.
Forever, over a decade. And Michael goes, Corey, I know you're going to write a book, and I know you're going to write a book about me and say bad things about me. And I just need to tell you to not do that. And Corey's like, what are you talking about? I'm not writing a book about you. Like, he had no idea what Michael Jackson was talking
Right.
about. So it was clear that Michael Jackson did not want him there. Suddenly, Michael Jackson had just done like a bait and switch and decided like he did not want to have anything to do with Corey Feldman anymore. They weren't friends anymore. He didn't feel comfortable around him. He needed to protect himself for whatever reason.
Right.
And Corey and Susie left the event, and they wandered around the city before their flight back to LA the next morning. The next morning was September 11th.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. This is fucked. So they're like, oh my God, like, we can't even get on our flight, obviously, back to LA. How are we going to get out of here? And somebody was like, well, you got to call the Jacksons because they're going to be able to get out of here. So he calls the Jacksons, Corey does, he gets in touch with them, and they're like leaving on a bus to go to like the next airport wherever in the next state where they can get on a flight. But I don't know how. I guess
There
maybe
was no
not because there was no
flights.
flights for like a week.
Unless you're like the Saudi prince, right?
You're right. There was no flights, so I wasn't really clear on that part. Maybe they were just traveling across country in a bus.
Right.
They could have been, but. They get there, and Jermaine or somebody is like, Corey.
Maybe it was Tito. we don't know.
Hey, Jermaine or somebody is like, Michael does not want you to come with us. You have to stay behind in New York.
Your Majesty, get my bags.
I'm sorry. Your Majesty. So that sucked for Corey.
Ugh.
In 2002, Corey was cast on, like at this point, he was only getting offered parts where he was going to play himself.
Right.
Like that was it.
Yeah.
He wasn't, and he was bummed about that. So he gets cast in 2002 on The Surreal Life, which was a reality show that I hated.
I forgot about that show.
I never watched it. I thought it was irritating, and I thought it was also really sad and exploitative, and I just didn't want any part
Was
of it.
that like ex-celebrities?
It was all like D-list at that point celebrities. It was like Bridget Nielsen and Flava Flav and like.
Flavor Flav isn't D-list. I'm just
Well, I'm saying in 2002,
Yeah,
these
I'm
were
kidding.
not fucking stars.
It was before Flavor of Love.
It was before Flavor of. This is what relaunched his career.
Right.
Was Surreal Life, but
Yeah, I don't think I ever watched it either.
I didn't like it. I thought it was dumb, and I thought it, and Vern
was
Troyer was on
Oh
it
my
too.
God.
Yeah.
He's a star of our bonus episode.
We talk about him in our bonus episode. Vern Troyer famously on The Surreal Life gets wasted after drinking presumably like an ounce of alcohol, and he's shit-faced like riding around on like a hover round or something.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's really sad.
It is sad.
It's
yeah.
just sad. It's like, so Corey reluctantly takes this job. He just needs the money. And this season that he was on, it might have been the first season actually. He starred alongside Vince Neil, MC Hammer, Emmanuel Lewis, Gabrielle Carteris of Beverly Hills 90210 fame. Andrea, who was always like 10 years older than everybody
like
else.
50.
Yeah. And Jerry Manthe of Survivor, and someone named Brandy Roderick of Playboy fame.
Okay.
So that's the cast. And
Yeah.
Corey Feldman. And Corey Feldman,
He's like the Meryl Streep of the group.
he was the Meryl Streep of that group. He was like, I do not belong here. Like, this
Yeah.
is so humiliating. He was humiliated doing it. They edited a really famous, there was like famously this edited clip that like went viral as much as you can go viral in 2002. It was in the tabloids probably. Like, it was just the joke where he was like, they made him say like, I'm an icon or something like that. It was just
painful,
like,
yeah.
yeah. And then he got engaged. So he gets engaged to Susie Sprague, and she, you know, he can't afford to give her the wedding that he thinks she deserves or the dress. But the show is like, well, if you guys get married on the show, we'll give you this huge fucking budget for your wedding.
We'll have craft work play.
We'll have craft work play.
Everyone has to dress as robots.
in black turtlenecks.
Susie Sprague. She walks down the aisle. Sorry. Can I just have Susie Sprague as my own little toy? I just want her.
So
I need to see her.
Yeah,
we have to
she's
find a
pretty.
picture. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
she's
sure
pretty.
she is pretty.
So they got married on the season
On the
finale
show, right.
on the show, and he was embarrassed by it, but he was like, that's the only way.
Yeah.
And they went on a nice honeymoon together in Bora Bora. So now at this point, Corey Feldman and Corey Haim really at this point, like I said before, they're only getting jobs as themselves.
Yeah.
So they, and I think it was in 2003, are cast in their own reality show together called The Two Coreys.
Oh,
And
God.
it's Life with the Two Coreys now. And Corey Feldman in his book described it as semi-scripted.
Yeah.
So he said all of the fights, because I watched a clip from The Two Coreys, and it's them fighting in the kitchen, and Corey Haim is calling Susie Sprague a bitch. And it was really fucking hilarious because it's so overdramatic. Like, there's no way this is real.
Yeah.
Because these guys love each other. They're best friends. And Corey Haim is just like, your wife's a fucking bitch, man. And like, he's like, you come say that to my face. Like, I mean, it's just like so cheesy.
Wait, they're all living together?
for the
Corey-
purpose of the show.
So
yeah.
Corey Haim is living with a married couple.
Yeah. And it's not even their house they're filming in. They're filming in like
it's
a rented
in
house
fucking
in
Calabasas
Yes,
or something.
exactly. So this show lasts for 2 seasons, and of course the show.
Really?
Yeah, but the show got canceled after the second season because Corey Haim's drug problem at that point was so bad. He was so fucked up. He couldn't. They were even supposed to star in a Lost Boys remake together or a reboot, and that got canceled because Corey shows up to set slurring and wasted, and meanwhile the reality show is filming them doing this Lost Boys whatever, like
right.
So let's flash forward to what happened on March 10th 2010, which is that Corey Haim was found dead in the apartment that he shared with his mom. Ugh. And of course,
that's a sad sentence.
In the valley.
Yeah.
And of course, everyone immediately jumped to the conclusion, well, this guy's a notorious drug addict, so it had to have been an overdose. And that's basically what it said on all the news channels that morning. I remember that morning.
Yeah, I remember.
When the story broke. And everyone was calling on Corey Feldman, make a statement. He didn't want to make a statement right away because he's like, my best friend in the entire world. My brother just died. Like, give me a fucking minute.
Yeah. Finally, I'm the only Corey, but it's bittersweet.
No, he was sad. He was so fucking. He was like.
I didn't realize that they were still friends at that point.
Oh my god, they were still like best friends. Even
That's
the
insane
whole
to me.
time they were best friends. So Feldman was, fucking heartbroken. He was destroyed. And it turns out that he didn't die of Haim did not die of a drug overdose. He actually died of an enlarged heart and complications from pneumonia. So it was technically natural causes, but to say that drugs didn't lead up to all of that, I feel like,
well, that's a kind of common thing. People die of natural causes, but
it's related to
weekend.
It's related to their weakened immune system. They're related
just
to not
they've
taking
beaten
care.
down their body. I mean,
so just a really tragic end to what could have been a really great lifelong,
right.
But that's, par for the course with drug addiction. Most people either die from it or burn out and become really tragic and live really tragic lives.
Right.
It's like rarely can someone keep that up
Yeah.
for that long. So, where's Corey Feldman at today? Well, today he's still pursuing his music. That's his number one passion. He's still releasing albums. Desi and I actually watched we watched 2 of his music videos before we started recording. The first one I showed her, it was actually a live performance from 1992 in which he was set to perform on Howard Stern's show. And he thought it was going to be more like an MTV thing, like a cool, like serious thing. He didn't realize it was like a joke show. So here's Corey Feldman performing his song, which he wants to be a hit, called What's Up with the Youth.
I'm sorry.
And he's dancing up a storm. I mean, he is dancing.
He is trying to be Michael Jackson.
The song sounds like a Michael Jackson.
He's trying to
Prince.
dance. Meanwhile, Stuttering John and Beetlejuice.
Right.
It's so absurd. We have to post it.
We're going
it's
to
unbelievable.
Post the video because you really
it's
have
like
to see it.
Primo Howard Stern period too.
Yeah.
Like I love that period of Howard Stern, like the 90s.
And Corey Feldman is just like dead sincere in this video.
And everyone in the video is it's like, I mean, it's
a mess.
It's the whack pack.
It's just the whack pack. It's a mess. And also, I showed another video that is more recent that came out a few years ago called "Duh." That's the name of this song. It's terrible.
And it's pretty high production, even though it's very shitty.
Yeah.
Like, they spent money on it.
They spent money on the video.
There has like a whole I Love Lucy, but it's I Love Corey.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
It's really bad. But Corey, like I said, I read the whole fucking memoir yesterday. He seems very happy. He has a son. He's not with Susie Sprague anymore.
What?
What?
No.
He's not. But he seems happy.
Who's the child with? Susie?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Sprocket.
Sprocket. No, his kid's name is Zen. And
no,
I wasn't gonna say anything.
His kid's name is Zen.
Yeah.
Come on.
It is.
No.
Here's the thing. I have like such a soft spot for Corey
You
Feldman.
do.
I just have the biggest soft spot for him because, like, I know, like, he's so easy to make fun of because he's so out of control. But I just feel like
He's so
he's
cheesy.
so sincere. He's so sincere, and I really do think he's genuinely a good person too. Like,
Aw.
here's the thing about Corey Feldman: like, he cares. He tried to talk. He's been talking about pedophiles in Hollywood for 2 decades, and
Right.
has been a laughing stock.
Right. But then you name your son Zen. It's like, you gotta. Come on.
I'm just saying, like, you know, and Corey Feldman's adamant that, you know, if it wasn't for the rampant pedophilia in Hollywood, that Corey Haim might have been saved.
Right.
Could have had a totally different fucking experience.
Well, I mean, yeah. That's true for almost anyone.
For almost anyone
Yeah.
who's been molested. Like, you have a totally different experience. It damages you for the rest of your life. But
Right. No, it's sad.
It's really sad. And lately he's been on the talk show.
See, I've seen some more dickish things with him
yeah.
that have turned me off to him.
Like what?
Well, didn't he have something where all these, like, I don't know if they're models or porn girls come to his house and he had parties, but he was kind of a dick?
I didn't think he was a dick. I just thought he was dumb.
Okay, maybe.
He has like his entourage of girls called the Angels. That's like his band.
I guess
Corey and
to
the
me
Angels.
it's just dumb.
Yeah, it's not dick. It's just dumb.
But it's kind of dick behavior. Like, I usually associate.
Yeah, like it's
People-
sleazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
right.
know. So you're just coming from
I was
where he's
also
more innocent.
I was also, when I was 22. Fun fact about Rachel Fisher: I was in a web short with Corey Feldman.
Were you an angel?
I was not an angel. I actually played myself in it, ironically.
Oh.
We both played ourselves in it, even though I'm not like a famous person
Right.
at all. But we both.
You did that before your career started.
I did that before. My career's never gonna start, and I'm only gonna be playing myself.
And everyone's like, who's that
Who the
bitch?
fuck is that? I was in a video with Corey Feldman.
She's on Twitter.
If you want to look it up, it's still on YouTube. I just watched it last night again. It's called Nothing. If you just Google, or if you go on YouTube and you look up "Nothing Bad Ever Happens to Nick."
Is he Nick?
No, he plays himself.
Oh, you both play yourself
Yeah,
in this
Corey
one.
Feldman plays this guru character, but it's Corey Feldman as a guru.
And wait, what's your character? I mean, I know it's
I'm the
Rachel
hot
Fi-
girl.
Oh.
I'm the girl that is like the love interest.
Oh.
Yeah, it's stupid. It's whatever. But I was very proud of that when I was 22. I was like, ugh,
Yeah.
now I've made it.
Yeah. This is the start.
Anyway, that's the story.
That's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. I hope you learned a lot.
I did actually learn a few things.
Yeah.
Mostly about that name, Zen.
I'd like
you.
to thank our Patreon contributors. We had a few new ones this week. Unfortunately, I did not prepare my notes for that, so I'm going to get you guys back on our mini episode.
Yeah.
I will be giving shout outs for our episode coming on Thursday. But thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much.
We also got to talk to one of our listeners
Too.
this week.
Yeah.
We've talked to 2 of them so far, and it's really cool to hear from you guys. If you haven't joined our Facebook group, please do. It's called Hollywood Crime Scene Friends. Just request to join. I'll add you. It's a great place where we can all chat, post links to true crimes you're interested in, stuff you want to see on the show, questions, comments. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank
Anything
you.
else? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.